Palantir just dropped its Q3 earnings and they had a great quarter. Palantir is proving once again that they are becoming one of the biggest players in the AI infrastructure. We're going to go over the numbers and then we're going to look at the technical analysis of the chart to see if we can kind of predict what's going to happen with the price action. Now, I do hold Palantir in my Roth IRA. My position is up about 600%. I have added to the shares since my initial buy. Otherwise, my position from my initial buys would be up over 1,000%. So I did buy Palantir early on. I wish I bought more than I did. If you remember my story, I actually sold half of my position once I was a little bit above break even because I held them for so long. My initial cost per share was around $20 per share. As price started to go down lower than 20, it went all the way down to $5 per share. I was adding to my position. And then once that position got up to about $22 to $24, I sold half of that position. And I honestly just sold out of frustration from holding the stock for so long without getting returns. And I kind of just wanted to free up that capital to put elsewhere. So that was a big mistake on my part. But let's go into the earnings report. Let's go into the statement from Alex Karp, the co-founder and CEO. He says 114%, our Rule of 40 score. The Rule of 40 score is the growth rate plus the margin percent, so 114% is very high. These results make undeniable the transformational impact of using AIP to compound AI leverage. Year-over-year growth in our U.S. business surged to 77%, and year-over-year growth in our U.S. commercial climbed to 121%. We are yet again announcing the highest sequential quarterly revenue growth guide in our company's history, representing 61% year-over-year growth. Now, the 61% is huge because a lot of people were expecting 40 to 50%, which is still great. So the fact that they beat that and got 61% shows how well this company is doing. All right, let's look at the Q3 highlights. U.S. revenue grew 77% year over year and 20% quarter over quarter to $883 million. U.S. commercial revenue grew 121% year over year and 29% quarter over quarter. U.S. government revenue grew 52% year over year and 14% quarter over quarter. Now, this is important because years ago, a lot of people dogged on Palantir because most of their revenue and contracts were from the government. Now they're showing a lot of expansion into different commercial spaces and companies, showing that they are much more than just a government contract company. Revenue grew 63% year over year and 18% quarter over quarter. They closed at least 204 deals of at least 1 million, 91 deals of at least 5 million, and 53 deals of at least 10 million. They closed a record-setting $2.76 billion in total contract value, which is up 151% year over year. And they closed a record-setting $1.31 billion of U.S. commercial. So again, their commercial non-government contracts was up 342%. So again, their commercial is growing very well. Customer count grew 45%. Their earnings per share was 18 cents. Adjusted EPS was 21 cents. And their cash equivalents, and short-term U.S. treasuries is $6.4 billion. So I believe they still have zero debt and $6.4 billion cash on hand. So they're doing very well. They're looking very strong. They are growing. Let's look at what the charts are showing us. All right, so we're just going to look at the short term. If we take the Fibonacci retracement from this previous high of about 190 to this low of 142 from this past August, we get these extensions. We got the 1272, 1.414, 1.618. So after hours, Palantir was up about 7% and they were in the 120s, I think like 120 to 122. That is the 1.618 extension. So what happened? The algos hit this target, which is a profit-taking target. Typically, for these extensions, you want to see somewhere between the 1.272 to 1.618 is when people start taking profits. So we see here that Palantir found resistance at that 1.272, found support at that same mark, and then after hours, it went up to the 1.618. So again, the algo started taking profits. And now I believe Palantir is down 4% in the 190s. So it is selling off a bit after a big run up strictly based on algo trading. So I'm going to be curious to see what the price action does tomorrow. If it still goes down, I would expect it to find support around this 190. We also have the 20 moving average here around 185. And we also have the 50-day moving average moving up currently around 178. So it'll be interesting to see where Palantir finds its support. Based on this earnings, I don't see why Palantir can't go up higher. But as I talked about earlier, its valuation is pretty extended. So we will have to wait and see what Palantir does with its price action tomorrow and the rest of this week. But earnings wise, the company is growing very well. And honestly, it doesn't seem like that growth rate is going to slow down anytime soon. When we look at the big picture of Palantir and why I brought up valuation, is it has grown so much so fast. Its PE ratio is 666. That is ridiculously high. It's hard to justify that PE, but the stock market is forward looking and this company is growing very well. Let's look at the monthly chart and see if the Bollinger Bands are still expanding in the log scale. When Bollinger Bands are expanding rapidly, yeah. I mean, look at the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands are expanded so far. So until the Bollinger Bands start contracting, I mean, price action is at the very top of the Bollinger Bands. They're expanding. The company still looks very bullish. So I will watch price action and see if there is an entry to add to my position. I added a couple shares around 170. So I am adding to Palantir still. I do feel more comfortable adding to Palantir because my cost base is so low and I am up a lot in this position. But the company looks very strong. So we will have to see what happens in the future. But that is it for the report. Comment below what you think about Palantir's valuation. Is this valuation justified? Does their rate of growth justify this bullish action, or is this just hype and it's way overpriced? Let me know what you think. Let's keep those portfolios growing.